Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who had no peace. Is it possible that the most powerful man in the world spent most of his life struggling? We don't like to think of emperors this way. Power, wealth, admiration. We assume these things come with ease, with confidence, with peace of mind. But what if they don't? What if, behind the marble statues and golden laurel wreaths, Marcus Aurelius was not at peace, but at war? A daily war, not with nations, but within himself. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Marcus wasn't born wise. He wasn't born disciplined. He didn't emerge from childhood clothed in courage. He became that way, painfully, deliberately, through effort, not essence. And that's precisely what makes him great. He was a man who knew that the throne could rot the soul. He faced betrayal, buried his children, endured plague and war, and still chose virtue. Every single day, he fought to be the person philosophy tried to make him. And that, not the empire he ruled, is his real legacy. But how did he do it? What habits, what practices, what mental rituals allowed Marcus Aurelius to rise, not just to power, but to character? In this episode, we're going to uncover those practices. And by the end, you might just realize, greatness isn't gifted, it's forged. Stay until the end, because in part 7, you will hear one of the most simple yet honorable acts ever performed by a king. One, he wasn't born that way, and neither are you. Some people think greatness is genetic. That discipline, courage, clarity. Those are things you're either born with or you're not. Marcus Aurelius would laugh at that idea. He knew the truth. Greatness is not innate. It's earned. Slowly. Brutally. Quietly. Day after day. In Meditations, he writes, "Fight to be the person philosophy tries to make you. Not walk toward. Not drift into. Fight." It was a war. And what was he fighting against? His own impulses. His privilege. His power. Because being emperor meant he could act on any whim, indulge every emotion, silence every critic. But he didn't. He resisted. Every day Marcus sat down with a pen, not to rule the empire, but to rule himself. He used his journal like a mirror, like a battlefield, like a scalpel, to cut away the ego, the excuses, the nonsense. You see, Meditations is not a book written for the world. It was a private notebook, a series of mental workouts. It is, in fact, a log of a man trying, and often failing, to live by the highest principles he knew. He fell short, frequently, but he never stopped trying. And that's the most important part. Because if Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, needed to remind himself to be kind, to be just, to be focused, then maybe we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves when we fall. Maybe the goal isn't to be perfect. It's to be in the process. That process, the fight to become who you're capable of being, is not reserved for ancient philosophers. It's available to you, right now. But where do we begin that fight? Let's start with one of Marcus's most powerful tools, the habit of journaling. 2. Journaling, a mirror to the mind. What do you do with your darker thoughts? The ones you can't say out loud. The ones you're ashamed of. The ones you pretend don't exist. Marcus Aurelius wrote them down. In a world where he could command armies, silence dissent, and act on rage without consequence, he chose instead to sit quietly with his own mind, pen in hand, and examine it. He used journaling not to look wise, but to become wise. Because when you put your thoughts on paper, something happens. You see them. You study them. You strip them of their power. Writing is a form of thinking. It's a form of discipline. It's self-leadership. That's what Meditations is. A private practice of a powerful man trying not to be consumed by his power. Imagine the temptation. Hadrian, his predecessor, once stabbed a secretary in the eye in a moment of rage. No consequences. Absolute power. Marcus had the same authority, but not the same habits. Instead, he created space between stimulus and response. He filtered rage through reflection. He translated impulse into insight. That's what journaling does. It gives you time. It builds the muscle of restraint. It helps you, as Marcus did, fight back against the person you could be, and instead become the person you aspire to be. So no, you don't need to be emperor to journal, but you do need to be willing to face yourself. And that may be the harder task. And when you learn to face yourself, you'll be better prepared to face the people who test you most, the difficult, the selfish, the rude. Let's talk about how Marcus dealt with them. 3. Dealing with difficult people without becoming one. You will meet rude people, arrogant people, selfish, manipulative, reckless people. It's not a glitch in the system. It is the system. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He didn't curse it. He accepted it. In Meditations, he writes, "Is a world without shameless people possible? No. Then this is one of them." He didn't get angry when people acted poorly. He expected it. He saw human flaws not as offenses, but as facts. And that shift changes everything. Because when you stop being surprised by bad behavior, you stop being controlled by it. You stop reacting. You start responding. You don't take it personally. You don't lash out. You don't spiral. Instead, you assign them a role. Just like gravity pulls things downward, some people will lie. Some will boast. Some will betray. And if you know that, you can meet them not with rage, but with reason. This is not softness. It's strength. It's choosing not to let the worst in others bring out the worst in you. Marcus believed that our power lies not in how we control others, but in how we control our perception of them. And in doing so, you save your energy, your peace, your clarity. You keep yourself intact, because the moment you start acting like the person you hate, you lose. But the moment you stay composed in the face of chaos, you win. Every time. And this brings us to an even harder challenge. Not just staying calm in public, but staying disciplined in your own mind. Let's talk about Marcus's radical idea. Don't even complain to yourself. 4. Don't complain, not even to yourself. When was the last time you complained? Out loud, or maybe just silently, to yourself? Most people think complaining is harmless. Some even think it's healthy. You gotta vent, they say. But Marcus Aurelius disagreed. He wrote, "Don't be overheard complaining, not even to yourself." Why? Because complaining is not catharsis. It's corrosion. It trains the mind to focus on what's wrong instead of what's possible. It tricks us into thinking we've done something, when all we've really done is indulge emotion. Marcus lived through plagues, betrayal, war, the death of children, yet he didn't waste time wallowing. He didn't allow his inner monologue to spiral into self-pity. Why? Because he knew that emotion unchecked leads nowhere. You can cry, you can hurt, but you don't get to stay there forever. And that's the difference between expression and obsession. Taking action to fix a broken system is noble. But endlessly talking about how unfair everything is, without doing anything, that's just noise. Complaining feels like control, but it's a lie. Control is doing something. Even if all you can do is control your attitude, that still counts. And so Marcus cultivated a mind that rejected whining in all its forms, because he knew a person who doesn't complain, even in private, is a person who has claimed power over their mind. And when you stop filling your day with complaints, you'll find more space for what really matters. That leads us directly to Marcus's next lesson. Do only what is essential. 5. Do only what is essential, and do it well. Most of us are drowning in tasks, in distractions, in noise. We chase deadlines, respond to messages, say yes to things we don't even want to do. And then we wonder why we feel burnt out, scattered, disconnected. Marcus Aurelius had the same hours in a day you do, but he lived by a different rule. He wrote, "Ask yourself at every moment, is this essential? And if it's not, eliminate it." It's a brutal filter, but a necessary one, because the truth is, most of what we do is superfluous. It's not urgent. It's not useful. It's just filler. And the more filler you cut, the more clarity you gain. When you remove the inessential, you create space for excellence. You gain the double benefit. You do less, and you do it better. This is not laziness. It's strategy. It's what allowed Marcus to carry the weight of an empire while still tending to his soul. Because when you stop wasting energy on the trivial, you free up energy for the timeless, for virtue, for wisdom, for the things that endure. This practice, this ruthless devotion to simplicity, is how Marcus became not just efficient, but elevated. Not just productive, but principled. And it's something you can do right now. Look at your calendar. Look at your habits. Look at your thoughts. Ask, is this essential? Cut what isn't. Honor what is. And once you do, you'll have more capacity to face the chaos of life with grace. Because life won't stop throwing obstacles at you. But what if those obstacles weren't detours, but the very path you're meant to walk? Let's talk about that next. 6. The obstacle is the way. Imagine everything going wrong. Your plans ruined, your health failing, the people you trust turning on you. Now imagine that instead of being crushed by it, you grew from it. That's what Marcus Aurelius believed. That's how he lived. In Meditations, he writes, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Let that sink in. He's not just saying make the best of it. He's saying, whatever is blocking you is guiding you. Life threw Marcus everything. Betrayal by a friend, years of war, the death of his children. And yet, he didn't run. He didn't numb himself. He didn't become bitter. He met the pain head-on. Not because he enjoyed it, but because he knew pain is a proving ground. Suffering is soil, if you plant something in it. This is what separates victims from victors. Not the presence of obstacles, but the perspective we take toward them. You don't get to choose what happens, but you do get to choose what it means. And once you choose to see an obstacle as a training ground, a place to build strength, patience, humility, you've already won half the battle. It's not about turning tragedy into triumph instantly. It's about seeing adversity as an invitation to practice your principles, to rise when it would be easier to fall apart. That's what Marcus did. That's what you can do. And when you live that way, every day becomes a kind of training. Even your worst days become a form of preparation for who you're becoming. But how do you sustain that mindset? By remaining a student. Always. Even when you're tired. Even when you think you've learned enough. Marcus Aurelius never stopped learning. Not even as an old man. Not even as emperor. Let's explore that next. 7. Always a student, even on the throne. What do you picture when you think of an emperor? Golden robes, marble halls, people bowing at his feet. But here's a true story. Late in life, after ruling the greatest empire in the world, Marcus Aurelius was seen walking out of the palace, tablets in hand. A friend stopped him and asked, "Where are you going?" And Marcus replied, "To see Sextus the philosopher, to learn that which I do not yet know." Just pause there. This is the most powerful man on the planet. And he's still going to class. He's still picking up his books. He's still admitting there's more to learn. That's greatness. That's humility. And that's the mindset that keeps you evolving, no matter how high you climb. He didn't see learning as a phase. He saw it as a lifestyle. Meditations itself is proof. His personal notebook, his training ground, his place to stay grounded in wisdom, even when surrounded by luxury and flattery. It's why he opens the book with thank yous to his teachers, his parents, his mentors. He knew he didn't get here alone. He knew he had further to go. And that attitude, that commitment to being a student, even as a king, is something we must carry with us. Because the moment you think you've arrived, you start to decay. You stop growing. You stop noticing. You stop listening. So keep learning. Keep asking. Keep seeking. Even if it means stepping down from your pedestal like Marcus did, again and again. And what happens when life knocks you off that pedestal? Well, that's the next test. Not of how much you know, but of how much you practice what you claim to believe. Which brings us to one of Marcus's most radical acts, forgiveness in the face of betrayal. 8. Forgiveness over vengeance, the emperor's hardest choice. What would you do if your closest friend betrayed you? Not just disappointed you, not just disagreed with you, but declared himself ruler in your place, thinking you were dead, and tried to take your throne. That's exactly what happened to Marcus Aurelius. His once trusted general, Avidius Cassius, heard a rumor that Marcus was dying. Instead of waiting for the truth, he declared himself emperor, a betrayal of the deepest kind. But Marcus didn't explode in rage. He didn't summon an execution squad. He didn't let ego lead the way. Instead, he tried to understand. He wanted to give Cassius a chance to come to his senses. He didn't want civil war. He didn't want bloodshed. Eventually, yes, Marcus had to respond. He brought the Roman army. The rebellion ended. Cassius was killed. But here's the most revealing detail. Marcus wept, not out of grief for the betrayal, but because he lost the opportunity to forgive him. He had hoped to show the world what mercy looks like in power. He wanted to prove that justice and compassion weren't opposites, they were partners. And he ordered the Senate, "Do not execute a single person for this. Let my name not be stained in blood." Some called it naive, impractical, too philosophical. But that's what made Marcus Aurelius great. Not his politics, but his principles. This wasn't just theory. It was practice, real life, real restraint, real moral courage. And this is what Stoicism demands. Not perfection, but integrity. Not revenge, but virtue. To live the way you say you believe, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. And Marcus knew something else. That no matter how hard we try, we will still fall short. So what do we do then? 9. Be the philosophy, not just the preacher. Talk is easy. Posting quotes is easy. Reading meditations is easy. What's hard is living it. Marcus Aurelius didn't set out to be a philosopher king. He didn't aspire to be remembered for his writing. He wanted to be remembered, if at all, for how he lived. And that's exactly what he became. You see, Marcus didn't write meditations to impress anyone. It wasn't for Instagram. It wasn't for glory. It was never meant to be published. It was a private reminder to live his values, to do the right thing even when no one was watching, to be what he admired, not just admire it. He writes, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That single line is a sword. It cuts through all the excuses, all the distractions, all the ways we delay doing what we know is right. It's easy to talk about Stoicism, harder to stay calm when insulted, harder to forgive when betrayed, harder to act with justice when the easier path is revenge. But that's the whole point. Stoicism isn't a philosophy of convenience. It's a practice of endurance. And Marcus endured. He walked the talk, even when it cost him. Even if he had never written a word, his life alone would have preached volumes. That's what real greatness is, when your example becomes your legacy. Because it's not enough to read the words. You must embody them. Live in a way that makes people think, if that's Stoicism, maybe I should try. And even if you fall, especially if you fall, that doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. And Marcus had something to say about that too. 10. Rehearse the worst, so you can live the best. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? Most people check their phones, worry about emails, react to whatever the day throws at them. Marcus Aurelius did something different. He anticipated difficulty. He practiced what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Every morning, he reminded himself, "Today you will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." Why? To become cynical? To be pessimistic? No, to be prepared. He understood that disappointment comes from unrealistic expectations. But if you expect challenges, if you rehearse them mentally, you become ready, not rattled. It's not about attracting negativity. It's about building resilience. When you walk through worst-case scenarios in your mind, you train your inner fortress. You remind yourself that your peace is not dependent on the world behaving. It's dependent on you responding well, no matter what happens. This habit, done quietly daily, makes you stronger than events, because you've already seen them coming. You've already rehearsed how to remain steady. And when you're not surprised by hardship, you're not defeated by it. But hardship isn't the only danger. Sometimes the real test comes wrapped in praise, attention, applause. Let's talk about how Marcus handled that. 11. Don't let praise inflate you, or criticism deflate you. It's easy to stay grounded when no one's watching. But what happens when they start clapping? What happens when people praise you, admire you, put you on a pedestal? That's when many lose themselves. But Marcus Aurelius didn't. He knew that praise is as dangerous as criticism, maybe even more so, because at least insults hurt. They force reflection. But praise seduces. It whispers, "You're special. You're different. You've arrived." And that's when the ego starts to swell. So Marcus reminded himself constantly, fame is worthless. The applause of others is just noise. Whether they cheer or jeer, it doesn't change who you are or what you must do. He warned himself not to become addicted to reputation, because the same crowd that worships you today will forget you tomorrow. And what is reputation anyway? A fragile arrangement of opinions you can't control. So Marcus taught himself this: detach from praise, from blame, from the need to be seen. Do the right thing, not for attention, but because it's right. That's true freedom. Not the freedom to be celebrated, but the freedom to be centered, no matter what people say. And when you live from that place, something shifts. You stop performing. You start serving. You lead not from ego, but from duty. And that's where we turn next. Marcus Aurelius's deepest habit, to serve something greater than himself. 12. Serve the common good, not your own ego. Why do you do what you do? Be honest. Is it to win? To look good? To be remembered? Or is it to serve? Marcus Aurelius was emperor. He had absolute power, and yet he never saw the throne as a privilege. He saw it as a burden, a responsibility, a chance to serve something larger than himself. In meditations, he constantly reminded himself, what is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. That is, if it doesn't serve the whole, it doesn't truly serve you. He didn't see Rome as his empire. He saw it as a living organism, and himself as just one part. Not the most important part, just the one with the most responsibility. And that sense of duty, not ego, guided his decisions. He didn't rule to glorify himself. He ruled to protect others. He didn't crave statues. He craved justice. He didn't seek applause. He sought balance. Even in private, he trained his mind to remember, you are not the center of the universe. You are a servant of it. And what happens when a leader thinks this way? They become rare. They become trusted. They become great, not in wealth, not in fame, but in integrity. That was Marcus Aurelius. Not a perfect man, not a saint, but a man who fought every day to live for more than just himself. And when he stumbled, because he didn't shame himself. He simply began again. That's the last, and maybe the most important habit of all. Let's now bring it all home with the final reflection. 13. Be the work, not just the words. 13 habits, 13 ways of living, not designed to impress, but to endure. Marcus Aurelius didn't live an easy life. He lived a deliberate one. He wasn't born wise. He became wise. He wasn't naturally patient or kind or just. He trained for it. He failed often, but he returned to the work every time. And that's what matters. Because this isn't about becoming a statue. It's about becoming someone you can quietly respect in the mirror. It's about fighting to live by principles, even when it's unpopular, even when it's inconvenient. To journal when the world's a mess. To forgive when vengeance is easier. To choose duty over ego. To remain a student. To practice resilience, restraint, and reason, even when chaos knocks on your door. Marcus showed us that true power isn't in control over others. It's in control over yourself. And greatness? It isn't built in moments of ease. It's built in moments of choice. Quiet, consistent, uncomfortable choice. So stop waiting for ideal conditions. Stop admiring Marcus like he's a myth. He was human, which means so are you. Now it's your turn. Pick one habit. Practice it. Start today. And tomorrow, begin again. That's the Stoic way. That's the only way. If something in this video stirred something in you, don't ignore it. Maybe it was a line. Maybe a question. Maybe just the feeling that you're meant for more than distraction and reactivity. That's not coincidence. That's your conscience. So start. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Now. Choose one habit. One principle. One page from Marcus. Make it yours. And if this message spoke to you, share it. Not for the algorithm. Not for numbers. But because someone out there might need this too. Leave a comment, not to impress, but to reflect. What spoke to you? What will you practice? And if you're on a journey to become stronger, calmer, more grounded, there's more waiting for you here. Subscribe. Stay with us. This isn't just a channel. It's a community of people who are learning, like Marcus, to fight for who they're meant to be. And if you fall off track, you begin again.